Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global market reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us is Scott Melko, a crypto trader and investor. He's also the host of the Wolf of All Streets podcast and author of the Wolf Den newsletter. He joins me to talk all things crypto as we do each month. Scott, it's great to see you. Happy New Year. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Happy New Year to you as well. And what an exciting new year it's been so far in the crypto space.
It has been, and I have been waiting with bated breath to speak with you all week because since the beginning of the year, especially, and you called this out when we met back in December, that you expected some fireworks and consolidation in the space, but it seems as if crypto Twitter has almost lost its mind. You put out something just about an hour ago, Bitcoin new paradigm, uncorrelated market, future of money, Bitcoin down. It's because of the stock market. It's correlated. It's going to zero. It's like everyone's losing their mind with this bout of volatility.
Yeah. And as you said, we had that huge drop about a month ago, from 53 all the way down to about 42. And from then on, I sort of had this vision that we were just going to chop sideways, going back up to the top of that range and to the bottom of the range. And people would get bullish at the top, bearish at the bottom, and everything in the middle would be insanity. And that's sort of what has played out thus far. And I think when the market goes sideways, people try to find narratives to explain what's going on. And there's been quite a bit obviously happening with the Fed and inflation and the stock market. And so then you just day to day, you get a brand new narrative and view on why everything is happening. And the reality to me is just kind of going sideways, and it happens in markets sometimes.
Right. And not just crypto markets, but all markets, as we're very well aware of. You also brought up something else. You put out a tweet saying that the government should simply rebrand stimulus to airdrops to get the crypto community on board with money printing. This is kind of new. We haven't spoken about airdrops until recently.
Yeah, it's a bit of a joke, but obviously, one of the core tenets of certainly the Bitcoin community is that money printing is bad, inflation is bad, and that Bitcoin's a hedge against that. But sometimes, we have airdrops in the crypto community, and people seem to get very excited when that money appears out of thin air and drops into their accounts and they can trade it and make money off of. So it's just sort of a poke, obviously, at that side of the community that rails against it when it's the government. But of course, it's okay when that free money comes to you. So it's a lot of fun. Honestly, it's a false equivalency to a large degree. We all know that inflation is theft from the poor to some degree by the price of assets that they need going up, and airdrops are more of a fun thing. But there is a bit of a comparison to be made there.
Has anything changed fundamentally when we think of Bitcoin?
I don't think so. It's sort of funny to watch everybody waver and wobble on the meaning of inflation and its effect on cryptocurrency. It's my impression that our community always believed that inflation was very bad, that money printing was bad, and that Bitcoin fixes this, and it does. And then to see a lot of the pundits come in and say, well, now the Fed's admitting that inflation is a problem, so that's bad for Bitcoin, doesn't make very much sense to me, because I think we all know that money printing will never end, that Fed policy can only tighten so much if they want the market to ever rise and to avoid a depression. And so, I think all of the core narratives are still in place, and they're actually being proven on a day-to-day basis, not disproven by the fact that the Fed is finally going to try to do something about it.
And Scott, let's shift gears a bit and talk about Ethereum for a moment, because I'm also seeing a lot on Twitter, other technologies that are blockchain builders that could potentially overrun or overtake Ethereum, if you will. What's going on in that side of the space?
So that's one of the most exciting sides of the space to me, and has been for a very long time. And I always tell people who say, how do I invest in the metaverse, or how do I invest in gaming? How do I invest in NFTs? Just buy these layer ones, right? It's sort of like having an index fund for everything that's being built on top of them. Obviously, we're talking about the Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, Elrond, all of these popular layer ones that we've talked about. And I think the notion of an Ethereum killer is silly. Ethereum has been around for the longest. It has Metcalfe's law, the network effect. It's not going anywhere. And I think that still the most serious developers and the people with the most money are building on Ethereum. That said, I think we'll live in a multi-chain world. Where each one of these layer ones will sort of find its niche. And there's trade-offs for one's faster, one's less secure, one's decentralized, one's more centralized, and each one will find the perfect use case and community. And then there will be protocols that make them interoperable, and they will all speak to each other and work together. So I think that there's a lot of excitement around Ethereum 2.0 this year. The move from proof of work to proof of stake. I think that people are still very interested in building on Ethereum. And I think it's really exciting to see all of these other competitive, if you want to call them that, blockchains starting to gain a bit of market share.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and it's to the legitimacy of the story there. Let's talk about NFTs for a moment, because brand after brand after brand is adopting an NFT strategy. A few weeks ago, Morgan Stanley had put out a report that the luxury NFT market could reach 50 billion euro by 2030. That's not that far away. Do you think the NFT space has the ability to grow that big and that fast?
I think it'll grow bigger and faster than they expect, to be honest, because it has the sort of hockey stick parabolic growth going for it, and people obviously have a hard time processing exponential growth, but that is what's happening in the NFT space. Listen, I think a lot of it's a bubble. We've talked about this before. I think some of the projects being built in it are nonsense, but at the core use case, being able to prove the scarcity or provenance of any item in the world and being able to transfer that item to someone directly without a third party is a very, very, very powerful notion. So I think that we're going to see, outside of the cash grabs and the obvious just attempts to make money, I think we're going to see real world use cases that change the way that we transact in a lot of ways.
Right. And I believe it was 2025. My apologies, not 2030. And it's interesting, once you start to cut out, the legacy middle people institutions, you can see why makes them a little bit nervous with this newer technology. So for 2022, and it's certainly, for all asset classes, of course, crypto, that's a long time when you think about the full year, so much happens within a 24/7 trading session. Anything else that you're going to be watching we should keep an eye on?
I think we touched on some of them for sure. NFTs will continue to absolutely grow and dominate. I think there's going to be a lot more conversation around the metaverse, and within that, play to earn gaming is going to be very, very big, I would imagine. Listen, if someone can quit their real job to play a video game for money and make more money, I think that that's something that they're going to definitely consider, and that might become very real. I think we'll see a huge movement towards improving layer ones and layer two protocols that can make them more efficient. So, the Polygons of the world and ZK Snarks roll up, some of these concept people may not understand, but they're ways to basically take things off the chain, package them up and make it faster and move it back onto the main chain. I think we'll see a huge movement there. And I have a feeling that decentralized social media, I have no evidence for this, but I have a feeling that will be a very big part of the conversation by the end of the year.